To the Finance and Warrant Commission September meeting. It's Wednesday, September 12th, 2018. We are granting permission to Westcat to record the meeting. Is anyone else anticipating recording the meeting? No? Okay, great. We'll move to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome, everyone. I think you know this is our first meeting of the new season, and we wanted to just take a couple of minutes to introduce ourselves, especially to our new FinCom members, is somewhat new. So welcome, Lauren, Diane, and Ellen. It's great to have you on board. We're excited to have you go through this journey with us. So thanks. Do you mind starting, George, just giving kind of how long you've been part of FinCom?
So you're doing this on longevity? Is that what
I'll categorize this in town involvement,
Oh,
George.
thank you very much. I have had the pleasure of serving on FinCom, I think about 14 years. And it's a wonderful town. I truly enjoy it. I live on Rock Meadow Road on this side of town. I have a son who is now engaged, 24 years old, and living nearby with his fiance. And I just think the volunteer work that folks on this committee do, I think is extremely important. And I think the town appreciates it and understands it. But this is a heavy lifting group of people. We have very healthy discussion. We don't always agree with each other. We vet the issues, but there's a lot of respect for the work that we do. So I have found it a pleasure serving this board, and I look forward to another 3-year term. And thank you.
Very good. Thanks, George. I'm Cindy Buckley. I live at 41 Millbrook Road. I have a 7th grader now and a 9th grader who has transitioned well to the high school, even if her mother hasn't. And this is my 4th year on Finance Committee, so I did 1 term of 3 years, and now I'm starting, I guess, my 5th year. This is the 2nd year of my 2nd term, right? So I'm happy to be here. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Powers. I live at 161 Fieldstone. I am beginning my 4th year on FinCom and have already gone through the grammar school, high school. We're into a new thing now. I have 5 daughters who were raised in town, and we now have 2 grandchildren who are attending the Downey School, one in the 1st grade, one in kindergarten, so it's all good. So it's great to be here. I'd like to recognize our new leader and co-leader, if you will, Tom and Julie, and I wish you all the best. And I echo what everyone else says. There's a lot of work that's done by the people here, and they do it completely, with their commitment to do the right thing, to identify and research in all issues, very transparent, and just a great group of people. So welcome aboard to our new members, and I wish you all the best.
Hi, I'm Howard Messing. I've lived in town 27 years. This is my 2nd tour on FinCom. I was on FinCom from about 15 to about 9 years ago, something like that. And then I took a break of 7 or 8 years, and I just rejoined last year. We raised our family in town, have a new grandson and a daughter who live 5 minutes outside of town and are trying to figure out how they can move into town. So, you're welcome.
I'm Barb Delisle. I've been in town for 24 years. Was on school committee and then joined kind of a midterm on FinCom. When I came on board, I was going to all the University Station meetings, and I didn't know that I would end up living in University Station. I sold my house this summer and I moved into the Gables. And I've got 2 boys that grew up in town and went through the schools and all.
Congrats.
Hi, I'm Jane O'Donnell. I am the administrator for this fine board, and I'm also the administrator for the Westwood Affordable Housing Associates, which is the nonprofit arm of Westwood Housing Authority.
Jane? Hi, I'm Julie Bride. I have 3 kids, one in middle school, son in middle school, and 2 daughters at Martha Jones. And I think I've been on as long as you,
Yes.
Cindy, right? Is it rounding 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. Going fast. So I'm excited about this year for all the reasons you've all said.
And our new
It's
I'm
Tom's.
sorry, chairperson, Julie Bride.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
thank you.
yes. So I'm Tom Kilgariff. This is my 3rd year on the board, and grew up in Westwood, live on Blue Jay Road. We have 3 kids in the schools, and happy to be here. Great group of folks, and do some really good stuff. So thank you all for attending.
I'm Ellen Rawlings. I also grew up here, and now I have a first grader at the Sheehan. So I guess I've lived in town off and on probably about 30 years. And I'm kind of been involved in local politics off and on since I came back, so 3 or 4 years at this point. And I'm very happy to be part of this board and looking forward to serving.
And I'm Diane McCarthy. We live at 249 Dover Road. We have twin 15-year-olds starting their sophomore year at the high school. I'm brand new to the board, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm Lauren Fitzpatrick, 23 Dean Street. And we've been in town for about 7 years, so I'm kind of a newbie to obviously the people who've grown up here. But we have one daughter. She's at the Hanlon School. It's a great town, great neighborhood, and for all the same reasons that you guys have said. Looking forward to learning a lot and spending time together.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So with that, we'll move into the kind of, I think, main topic, and then we'll get back to some of our FinCom organization things. So Mike Gillette was kind enough to come today. We had some materials, thank you, Jane, for distributing over the summer, that addressed a process issue and now the town's rebuttal. So I think everyone has an email copy, and Jane gave us a hard copy. Mike was going to take us through the Reader's Digest version, so we can talk about, it's Dottie's letter, I think signed by Mike Walsh, dated, that's not Mike's letter, though. Oh, Dottie's letter to me.
This is Dottie's
Yes,
letter, yes.
correct.
That sort of outlines the timeline that Mike has.
Right,
It's right in
that's
there.
on the first cover.
Yes,
But we didn't get this, we got Mike Walsh's
yes.
response to the AG. Great, thanks, Mike, for joining.
So I'm just going to, as was suggested by the chairman, I'll just go through a thumbnail sketch of what happened. We had 3 articles at last year's fall town meeting, Articles 10, 11, and 12. The process for these planning board articles requires a public hearing in front of the planning board, which they held, got comments on. They, at the end of their process in updating the bylaw, or the 3 articles for its final version to be presented to the Finance Commission, at your public hearing, they met, finished that up, voted it, passed it on. At the end of that public hearing, they decided to continue the public hearing to the night you were meeting in public hearing, the idea being that they would keep the ability open, that they could make further modifications if the Finance Commission or somebody in the general public came up with some refinement that should be made on that night. They would make it, and then, you know, we'd be all ready to go to town meeting. The Finance Commission could vote it. You looked at the 3 articles, decided that there was no modifications required that you were seeking. There were no further comments from the public that were meaningful, requiring a change. And so you voted the articles as submitted by the planning board. Unfortunately, the planning board did not have a quorum in the room at that moment, and they had continued the hearing to that point. Now, you just need to understand, when the public hearing process starts with a 14-day advertisement period. You have to notify the neighboring town and certain people about the fact that you're having a public hearing. And then if you meet on a second night or a third night, you have to just continue to tell people in the room. The assumption is once people have come that are interested, they will continue to come. You have to tell them about the next meeting so they could come to that and then the next meeting. So on the night they didn't close it, they also weren't able to continue it to another meeting night because there wasn't a quorum. So they simply left, and then the next meeting, I think it was, they then continued the public hearing so that they could close it and vote that they were going forward with it as written. There was no further comment taken. Yep,
All right, just so I'm not confused, I
Yeah.
think I'm following you.
yep.
So everything would have been fine had there not been an additional meeting by the planning board?
Yes, if they had been able to close it on the night that they had projected
Which is-
it to, the night of the FinCom hearing.
Okay. Now, so they can, they had a subsequent meeting occurred?
Yes, it had to occur because they hadn't closed out the issue.
Any communication occur at that time?
No. Now, what we realized probably should have been done to close it out would be to go through the advertisement process again, because the chain of meetings had been broken.
When they didn't have the quorum?
When they didn't have a quorum left.
So had
to
there
define it.
been a quorum, non-issue?
Non-issue, they would have just continued to the next
So
meeting.
when they met again, they did have a quorum, but there was no additional communications had?
No.
They didn't have the notification.
No additional notification and no additional communication, right.
Okay.
So, when the AG office got all the paperwork on the issue, they rightly decided that they had broken the chain of public hearing in the process. They had not advertised it the 14 days prior, which they should have done. And so they said, well, we could reject these articles at this moment. However, we have this other process that's been voted. It's a statute in the statute that says that if the town advertises it for 14 days, and then nobody makes any statement or claim that the process wasn't followed or against it, then they would have accepted the three articles because they didn't follow it was a technicality, it wasn't a material change. On the last minute of the last day, in fact, it was 10 minutes after the close of business on the final day, the town clerk's office received a call indicating that there was an email that had just been sent, and please open it and stamp it and verify that it had come in. Now, technically, it was after hours, but it got accepted on the last day, and so from the AG's perspective, it was a legit claim against the articles, and therefore, they had no option. Now, I gave you a letter that basically was sent by us to the AG's office that basically refutes every single point made in that article. It is our position that that article had no legitimate claim of anything that went wrong. In fact, there are statements that are made that are very contrary to what actually happened, and there are some statements one statement that was made that I thought was particularly egregious. However, the AG's office has since responded that regardless of the fact that it may not in fact be material, it doesn't matter. The statute reads that if there's any claim, doesn't mean it has to be a valid claim, just any claim is made, they have no other option but to reject the articles, which they did. So what does that mean? That means that we have to come back at a town meeting and revote those three articles, which were passed, by the way, by better than majority. There was supermajority. As you recall, all zoning board articles require a 2/3 vote. So they were voted by overwhelmingly supportive. In effect, this process, as I just described it, put aside a legitimate vote of town meeting, which is our legislative process, over a technicality that got objected to. I think it's kind of sad that that's the way it worked. One of the articles is particularly troublesome because it had been proposed by a business that had a lease that had been was continuing on a basis. The company that had leased the property had gone out of business or moved. I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but they were no longer in the building, but they were continuing to pay the lease, and the lease was about to run out. And they were looking for new people to come in, and they wanted to have some additional benefits to lure a better quality business into the facility. They were fixing it up. They got another article on town meeting floor to allow them to put a path to the railroad station to try and offer that up, and they were looking to make improvements. And one of the things they wanted to do is be allowed to offer the ability to put a cafeteria inside the building, because most office buildings now have some sort of cafeteria. But it wasn't allowed under our zoning, so they needed to make the modification. They're not able to do that. They're going to have to trust us that we're going to get that done in the spring, and hopefully that, they'll be able to tell people that it's likely, but they won't be able to guarantee that it's going to happen, so that may affect whether or not somebody takes a lease with them. So it's a long and short of those three articles. With regard to town meeting in the fall, the planning board has also, in addition to those three articles, decided to sponsor or submit 7 more articles for consideration at the next town meeting, in anticipation that it might be a fall town meeting. There are no other articles that have been submitted. The planning board has indicated that it's perfectly acceptable. The planning board chairman was at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night. Perfectly acceptable to push them off to the spring. Nothing is imperative. The one that I just mentioned is the more pressing one of the 10, so they can wait till the spring. So the Board of Selectmen didn't think that a number of people would come out for planning board articles only, so they decided not to go forward with a fall town meeting. So the workload for all of us, including you, has diminished a little bit for the fall.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, I would echo that, I think.
Before I open it up to questions, I just feel like I need to make a comment, because in the claim against the process, there was also a claim against us as a FinCom body, and I think it questioned the integrity of us and the decisions we make, and I just need to have it clear for the record that that has been evaluated. No such claim is true. People can, as you said, make any statements, but the accusation made against FinCom is false. Correct. Thank you. I know everyone got that email, and you were probably as alarmed as I was, but now that we've had the rebuttal from the Board of Selectmen and had a chance to understand it more, I think it's important, because I know everyone puts a lot of time and work into this. And as you said, I think transparency is key. We've gone through training, and there's a lot of work done just to become a member of FinCom. So I just think it's important to state that. Are there any other questions for FinCom, or?
Just a question, Mike. The town, if it wanted to, although it probably burns, could take this to court, correct? Can you appeal? Can you go to?
Yeah, we were told that we could appeal to court, yes. I don't know that we'd have, that it's likely that we would, the statute is pretty clear, so.
Okay.
I mean, we could fight it in court. I personally thought it was important to get a letter, and so did the board agreed. It was important to get a letter on record to basically refute the claims that were made, because, as the letter indicates, there wasn't any validity to any of it. And I think it's important to point out to the state that setting aside a town meeting vote on a technicality like this is something that shouldn't be happening. I mean, it's tough to get a quorum at town meeting and to get votes on these issues, and that's our legislative body. That's who, I mean, everybody, I hope everybody understands, they run the town. At the end of the day, it's what the town meeting says that we do for the remainder of the year. So it's the most important body that we have, and to set aside their vote, especially at over a 2/3 majority, I think is incredible, and not the best thing.
And I thought the letter was extremely well written, the response, and I think you're right. It was very important for the town to go on record to clarify the issues.
I just have a technical question. The notice, when they post a notice and it's like day 21, isn't it close of business that day?
Was.
It was. So has that affected?
Unfortunately, we had a person sitting at the desk at that moment
Is
in
that going to
time.
affect policy, like at town hall, to now not after a certain time, like, you know?
I think that some statements have been made about that, yes.
The technicality, if the letter of complaint, if it simply said, I wanted, if there was not sufficient notice and I object on that grounds, without listing all of the issues.
That's
that
all
would
it
have
would
been-
have taken.
That's all it would have taken. So the entire body of the complaint really wasn't necessary to make the
That's
issue
precisely
happen.
correct.
Which is also why, even if everything in there is wrong, it
Doesn't
doesn't
matter.
make a difference. Right.
Correct. That's right.
Any other questions, FinCom? Jen? Any questions from public, press? Okay, I think we're good. Thanks so much, Mike. That was
Okay.
helpful. I appreciate it. I know we got the emails, but it's always helpful to have the dialogue,
I'm happy to be here.
especially to have it recorded.
Welcome
We're happy
to
be
new
here.
members.
You'll know
Bye.
Mike well pretty
Thank you,
soon.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Jim. So great, that was good. We are on to now our committee assignments. So over the course of the summer, well, last we talked in June, for those of us that could attend the meeting, Lauren, you probably didn't even know you had signed up for it at this point. But we had a lot of discussion around, I think with Marian's departure, and she did such a phenomenal job of, and Jane did benchmarking of how other towns and committees are run. And what I think we said is, maybe we should be more fluid and move through committees and maybe move positions on a more regular basis, so we don't end up in a place where we don't have kind of bench strength as people move on in life and maybe leave FinCom over time. So with that, I looked at a couple things with the help of Tom Kilgariff. I think our objectives, one of those days, was to take the input from June and things we talked about, to look at also kind of forward-looking, where do we think there'll continue to be a lot of work for us and what things are happening in the town. I think it's no surprise that there's a continued uptick in planning board activities, development and work like that, that won't slow down anytime soon. And then also we talked about really the opportunity, you know, it's like drinking from a fire hose when you start. There's so much to learn about the processes of the town, the ins and outs, the different committees, how decisions are made, et cetera, that we thought a new format and some position committee changes would help kind of share the wealth across the organization. So with that, we'll keep, does everyone have the committee assignment in front of them? Obviously, we need to keep the municipal subcommittee. Peter Lentz, who's been part of that committee for several years, has agreed to chair it. We will include the OPEB work. That had been kind of a standalone assignment for a while, but it's going so well, we don't need to leave it alone, but we don't want to leave it unnoticed. So that work can roll under the municipal subcommittee with Howard, Cindy, and Ellen there. So we kind of have a hybrid of expertise and tenure there. The education subcommittee we need to keep. That's obviously a big one, half of our budget. Jen Perkins, who's been on that committee, has agreed to chair it. Mike, we were looking to see if you do vice chair, although we haven't really qualified what vice chair has to do. It's just, we thought it would be a good title, right, Jane?
I only recognize one,
Who
I only,
doesn't like a title?
I only recognize one vice chair in the group.
Yeah, maybe that's why we
Nice
went
try.
there.
Awesome.
Nice try.
And Diane, we thought it would be a great opportunity for you, given your focus, et cetera, to be part of that discussion as well. And then comes the new committee that we're looking to form that will take shape, and I think we'll learn how this will work as we do it. Jim agreed to be the fearless leader there, to take on things around planning, development. There's a master plan in development. There's University Station work still being done. Clearly Islington, maybe 109. There may be an intersection with some of the school development work and municipal work, et cetera. So we thought Wes, who can't be here tonight, as well as Lauren, a new committee member, will participate there. George, who's done a lot of this work for the last, how many years did you say, George?
14.
14 plus, has agreed to be a participant advisor. And I guess the way we've looked at that for Barb, Mike, and George is to really take a step back in an effort to have kind of the rest of us step forward and build that knowledge base that they have, given their experience.
The old people on the back burner, yeah.
Well, as Mary Ann said, try to keep them as long as you can. And really to help, I mean, as you said up front, there's a lot of work. And I think if we can spread it and distribute it more evenly, and if people can focus on a certain topic, it doesn't mean you won't vote or participate in all topics. It will just help us get up to speed, I think, a little bit faster. Or not, we'll see, I think, over the course of the year. And then we have a category of special projects, which is things we anticipate happening, and committees that have been in place that Barb and Mike will continue to be part of, which is great, and especially that long-range planning committee. Did you meet already?
No, later this month.
Later this month?
Yeah.
Okay, so that will kick off
Mike
soon.
can't go to it.
Oh, are you gonna go?
Yeah.
No, that's okay. This is all conversation. And then what we'll look to do is we're trying to figure out how this works according to our charter, but we know that we will have going forward liaisons to other committees where we'll need to represent. So, for example, there'll be a new municipal facility task force that's being built. We'll want to have maybe 1 or 2 people on. The school building project will be another significant piece of work. The Islington Center Task Force, I think, will stay intact, we think. So we're looking at how these committees and things are coming together, and then I'll work with the chairs to figure out the best person or people to represent FinCom on those. So we hope to have that organized by our next meeting in a couple of weeks. So with that, I'll stop and see kind of questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. Tom?
No, looks good to me. I like it.
Sure. Yeah, he didn't get put on the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Will there be an opportunity, do you think, as part of our meetings, as a general kind of cadence to the meeting, that we can have a little bit more conversation from the subcommittees as we go on, kind of keeping us up to date a little bit
Yep.
more? Because I think sometimes we get to the end and it's like, you have
Right.
to learn everything at once. It might, I think on the education side anyway, it would be helpful for us to be able to kind of keep everybody up to date in what's going on, so that when we get to town meeting and we need to vote, it makes more sense to everyone.
I think it's a great idea, and I've heard that in the conversations I've had in planning. So we talked about that, bringing agenda items forward, trying to be proactive. I think especially without a fall town meeting, we have a chance to use some of our upcoming meetings to get ahead of that, and some of the work being done, even if it's just thoughts around planning to plan. I think it becomes really tight for us in the budget, February, March time cycle where everything's come on. So I think that's a great idea. We have Nora penciled in for the next meeting, as well as Emily Park. So I think we can work, and if we want to add other agenda items, we can facilitate that as well. I think the other part, and just getting organized, I think to the extent we can send any questions, anything to future speakers ahead of time, I think it will help them prepare. So if there's information we want to know about, maybe we can get that organized with the help of the chairs, funnel it through Jane, and we can send that out so they come best prepared. Not that anyone usually isn't, but I think it would just help them understand where our interests lie on that. And then I think when it comes to writing the articles or having to stand up in town meeting to respond to why FinCom voted, we'll look for the committees to do that as well. So we'll kind of be all in one. And I think within, I've worked with the municipal committee and we divide by departments, but really can be within each subcommittee to figure out who wants to go to the meetings, who wants to write the articles, or however you want to divvy it up is fine. I know everyone's crunched for time and some people would rather write and some people would rather go to meetings. So I think that can be sorted out over the next time frame. So that's a good point. And updates, I think, are always helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? Anything on this end? Howard? Any questions?
No?
No?
Julie, I'm just going to make
Go
a,
ahead,
I think
George.
I had mentioned this to you previously. Having handled a lot of the major projects, everything from University Station, most recently to the Public Safety Building, I think that we all work very, very hard on these write-ups that go into the book, but I'm willing to bet that, and I'm saying this politely, that the majority of citizens don't have time to read the book. And one of the concerns I've had is we go to town meeting, and we've all educated ourselves, but there's a bit of a gap between what we've written, and if everybody read it, you'd say, okay, the debate would be logical. So one of the suggestions I made, I think the FinCom has almost an education responsibility. And one of the things I suggested to Julie is maybe we pick one or two subjects, one out of the municipal side, maybe one out of the schools, where you do a white paper and you reference that in the annual report we produce. One of the thoughts I had in municipal, you could take healthcare and you could write maybe 3 pages of what is going on in the world of municipal healthcare, what are the risks, what are the exposures a town like Westwood has, and maybe even ask the town residents, look, if you read one thing, read this white paper. I think the other big challenge is going to be, we're going to have a huge capital budget challenge in front of us. I think the number for the schools, and it needs to be done, and we need to get it through, is going to be very, very large. My own personal feeling is it can't just be something that the school advocate for. It's got to be a town-wide advocacy, because by the time we get to town meeting, it's got to be something that you have consensus amongst the town. Because my guess is it may be large enough and it may require an override. So I think we have to view ourselves as not only vetting the issues ourselves, but trying to educate or get people involved so that, you talk about we surprise ourselves by the complexity of issues when we listen to reports and we want updates. Well, think about if you're a resident in the town and the 50-page book shows up and most people don't even read it unless they're focused on a specific issue. So maybe one of the missions of FinCom is to reach out and start to educate, people. I wish we could get more people to come to the FinCom meetings as we go through the year, but people are busy, they're not going to come. So I just started thinking about how do you put information in front of people that maybe they'll take the time to read and get them involved. So just an idea I had.
Now that George has said that, I'll echo that a little bit, because I was thinking, we're doing a security study right now in the town. It would be good if we had that presented to us. Even if it doesn't end up having much impact on the budget. It would be a good subject to have presented to us and find a way to, unless the town has another plan for presenting the results of that to the town rather than just a dry report. So I echo that there should be some things of that.
And Julie, if I can build on that too, I think that part of what will make it a more lively discussion for us is being able to get some of that stuff ahead of time. It seems like we're always getting things sort of rushed late, and I know everyone's busy and things change and stuff, but if we could get a report on the security study ahead of time, then we can digest it and ask good questions. And I know people do watch. I mean, I get people who say, I saw it on TV last night, whatever. So even with that, being able for people to understand and hear a good, robust debate in reference to this is sitting on the website if you have more interest to go in, I think that will help too a little bit, educate the town on, and people do go back and even look at some of the past stuff. So if we can push people to get us stuff a little bit more ahead of time, then it's on us to kind of read that and digest it and then ask good questions when we get here. That will really help, I think.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I noticed since you have Emily on the agenda next time, it's really important. She's going to talk about the MSBA process, but need to talk about how they are going to be disseminating the information. I mean, they've got a committee that's, you know,
Meeting.
a town-wide type of committee. But, you know, for her to talk a little bit about how the process that she's going to go through of reaching out to people and getting input would be nice to know.
And I guess what I'm sort of saying is I think that's a really
get
important
before-
thing. If we could get that from her ahead of time so that we could then read it and then.
We'll ask her. We'll
Yeah,
ask
I
her.
will. I mean, no, because I think that's something that,
Yeah.
you know, as you're looking through it, sometimes here you go home and you think, oh man, I should have asked this question, or this would have been a good thing, and it just gives us a little bit more time to kind of formulate thoughts around it and stuff. So, I mean, that's an excellent point. I think maybe we should, just maybe Jane won't mind taking on that responsibility of people putting questions to you and saying, I've read this and I have, you know, so that you can have them be prepared too for that.
And I think they would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Get the time to
Yeah.
do the research and come prepared.
Mhm.
So, absolutely.
No one wants to be caught off guard.
No,
Right.
I'll make sure Ellen gets that for next time.
Anything else? And I think the idea would be, as you think of ideas or focus topics, we should funnel them through Jane, and we can
Yes.
figure out how to approach it. Because I know we had an off-cycle meeting with the chief of police at one point about University Ave activity. It was helpful to have that conversation outside of the budget, because there's so much to cover. So I think it's a good idea.
And it might be worth mentioning too, Julie, just for the new members, that any communication from board members does need to go through Jane, right? As opposed to each other.
Good point, Tom.
That's to the entire board, right? Not subcommittees? Or is that
Subcommittees too.
subcommittees too?
Safer than sorry, what we try to do is, what I've asked folks to do, and everybody's been really good about that, is when they're collaborating, they just copy me on it. So,
But I believe, Jane, in the open meeting law, one of the frustrations is that we can't, if your three people are working on a write-up or an issue, I had to send my write-up to Jane, Jane had to send it out to each person individually, they had to get back to her. I could not deal, because of the open meeting law, with the three people together, which, and you've heard me say in front of Dottie, it's ridiculous, but it's the nature of the open meeting law. So you have to be extremely careful
yes.
on that. So I think we basically funnel everything through Jane, and Jane's pretty good. I mean, she knows how to get the stuff out, so,
She's a goddess.
yeah.
And if you're going to have a subcommittee meeting, you just make sure it's posted.
You have to post it, yeah.
Right. Which they are.
Yeah, I post all of those.
Yeah.
I coordinate them, so I post them.
Right, she usually sets them up and stuff. It's a good point, though.
And that's a 48-hour notice?
48 hours, yes. We try to do as much as we can.
For the new members, I know Dottie has come in and done the
We're gonna
overview.
set
Is
something
she gonna
up,
do that
yeah.
for them, the open meeting
Pam
law?
wasn't available, so,
Okay.
when I can get the Pam, Dottie
Oh.
team together, we're gonna do a little,
Okay, because you don't want to go to open meeting law jail.
we might even do a little charter talk.
Jill.
Yeah,
No, you
so-
don't want to go.
So one thing, Jane, do you mind talking about the idea you had this summer?
So
about communicate?
it's actually one of my goals that, you know, every year, Mike, I report directly to Mike and with a dotted line to the chair for FinCom and Housing Authority. And one of my goals that I created for myself this year was I would like to, I think people know FinCom is important, but they often, you know, residents, they know it's important, but they don't know exactly what it is and what we do. And, you know, so one of my goals is to create a Facebook page for FinCom. And I'm working with our head of technology. I'm going to revamp the FinCom webpage. And I think do some things, like one of the ideas I had that Tom and Julie were really excited about was to, you know, write something up about the fact that they both grew up here. I don't know that we've ever had a chair and a co-chair that have grown up in Westwood, and I think people would find that interesting. I'd like to do a little bit of conversation with,
Still
you know,
growing up.
if you're able
Still
to
growing
talk
up.
a little bit about who you
Big
are
face.
and what you do, and, you know, because I think it's really interesting and important for people to know what FinCom is doing. And I think if we can get a little bit more, you know, FinCom stands alone, really. And so if people know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and, you know, what some of the things we're interested in, like subcommittees, how important that is, and the enormous amount of work that goes into the findings and the reporting out, I think it would be really helpful for residents. And as it's to your point, George, around people don't have a lot of time to read through. That, another one of my goals is to get the book sort of, you know, more user-friendly and updated and, you know, a
So
little
you're going to
easier.
measure your success by the number of friends we have on the Facebook page?
I don't know if we want to do that.
Are there any open meeting implications on a Facebook page, like who can,
No, the town
people
does,
can?
I mean, the town does it, so
Okay.
we have an official page. I mean, we'll obviously, you know, work closely with
Okay.
getting it done, but it's, I think it would just be an opportunity for us to highlight, not necessarily, you know, every single meeting, but it would be good to have.
But, you know, Barbara's got a point. What you can't probably do is end up with, you can't have a Facebook debate. In other words, you probably got to be very careful that you
Exactly
can't
right.
get into
I
a.
don't think the town, we have
yeah.
an
I mean,
official town
if-
page, we
Yeah.
don't engage in debate.
I was gonna say,
No.
if that does go
Right.
forward, we should get some instructions
Yeah,
on,
that
you know,
doesn't
just
happen.
Aren't there
Our
ways to
fire
do it
department,
that-
our police department, you know, they all have official pages, so we just don't engage in debate on. It's more of an opportunity just to see who FinCom is, what they're doing,
I think
you
it's
know,
a great-
our
Jane, it's a good idea.
timelines, our
Yeah.
agendas, and I think we all talk about transparency, and so it's a great opportunity.
I think it's a good idea. See what happens. It's social media. It's way a lot of young people communicate. So let's see what happens.
start posting Instagram pictures from them.
Selfie.
Jane's gonna start tweeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Might have to shut that down.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds good. So I think we're positioned well to at least get organized for the coming fall, no town meeting, but we can start to pull together really the topics we want to cover and start maybe setting up presenters for those, kind of work through the subcommittee structure to do it. That would be great. And then for our last agenda item, new business. Do we have any new business?
You need to approve the minutes.
Yeah, the old business, right. So in here, Jane, did you give them to, I know you
Yes, I
emailed
sent
us.
them out,
so-
and I have
Okay.
those copies here, so. you
Any
have-
questions about, our last meeting was obviously mostly about reorganizing, so I don't think there were any heavy business items in there. The one
Make a
pager.
motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? No?
No, but I wasn't there, so I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain
Anybody abstaining?
by Lauren and Jen, right?
Yeah, just two.
Were you there? No, Howard wasn't there.
I wasn't there
Three.
either.
Anything else from the public? Any questions for our audience, comments? Thank you for coming. Thank you all, FinCom.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to a good year.
So are we meeting on the 25th?
Yeah. I think we did this in record time, 46 minutes.
I was gonna say, I like your
Thank you.
time,
Chop, chop.
very efficient.
Places to be, people to see.
Yeah.
Jim.
Diane. Nice to meet you. Really happy to meet you and I'm excited to work together.
Yeah.
I understand that you, but that's.
Oh,
Well, I think
I
we
need
have
a motion to adjourn, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted
Motion
to
to
talk
adjourn?
about how
Where do you live in town?
Second.
you might be able to utilize your
Okay.
passion for.
Jen, sorry, I need
Big
we need the
things.
motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Last
motion to
year,
adjourn.
big thing was Islington.
Second?
Yeah, we got all of that.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thanks. Sorry, technicality.